Thank you, everyone. Welcome everyone to the Sales Tax Subcommittee of the House Ways and Means Committee. This afternoon, we have one item on the agenda. We have House Bill 586, the Georgia Economic Recovery Act of 2021. To present that item, Representative Watson, you're recognized this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to be here. This is HB 586 LC 431941. Is better known as the Georgia Economic Recovery Act of 2021. If you will, we'll start with Section 2. It's dealing with the sales tax exemption on materials used on projects of regional significance. This particular tool that our economic development folks use has actually only been used 9 times since its inception. It's a very good tool that they have in the toolbox to allow for these projects of regional significance when it comes the time to build these type projects. That's basically what we're doing in Section 2. This was it's been in place since 2012. We've renewed it in 16 and in 19. So probably pretty familiar, and that's again what we're doing here today is extending the period sunset on it. Going on to Section 3, this is dealing with the ticket sales with museums, symphony, fine arts, however you want to describe it. And basically, we're just removing the sales tax on those in that particular events. Section 4, you've also seen this same piece of legislation as well. I think it's already passed through this committee dealing with concrete truck equipment. I think Chairman Corbett carried the bill earlier this year. Same here. We're just renewing the sunset on that. This exempts about $4 million, I believe, dollars from the state, but they also are still paying motor fuel taxes and whatnot. That basically kind of makes it a wash. But it's another economic development tool for our state and allowing these companies that are pouring concrete across the state. These trucks are not on the road per se. They're mixing concrete on job sites, but yet they are paying motor fuel tax, so they're still carrying their weight. Section 5 deals with a sales tax exemption on boat repairs. This is also a piece of legislation that we've done in the past, and it's dealing with the major large boats that are retrofitted or repaired in our state. Several other states allow for an exemption on the parts used to repair these. So basically, it's brought jobs to our state. It's brought industry to our state, and basically, what it does if the repairs exceed $35,000, then they're basically sales tax exempt at that point. I think it's the best way to describe that.
Let me just chime in with you and think I understand this. I think if the tax, the maximum sales tax they would pay would be $35,000. So it would actually be $500,000 worth of work would be the max, and they'd pay on in a large project. And that's done because these projects could be done anywhere. They're mobile. If not, but for providing some incentive, we might not have those things going on in Georgia and have the businesses and the jobs associated with it.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right, and that's what the bill does, Mr. Chairman. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions? I have a couple. If you would stand, we may have somebody that wants to speak to it. I'll go to the committee for their questions and then go to speakers.
I'll have some questions.
Okay. Do you wish to ask them now?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Whatever you
No, please go ahead.
So, help me. What section was the ticket removing taxes on? All right, Section 3. All right. So, to the author of the bill, and these serious questions, do we have any kind of idea of the fiscal note on this in normal times, not pandemic related times, but normal times?
I don't right now at this time, but I think they're working on it.
Then, but it's not, we don't have it yet.
Huh? I think you've got testimony along these
Why
lines.
don't I hear the
Yeah.
testimony then I can follow up with questions.
Okay, joining us from someplace, former Attorney General of the state of Georgia, Sam Owens.
Thank you very much, Chairman Martin and members of the committee. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I want to thank Chairman Watson for House Bill 586 and the other leaders who are sponsoring this bill today. I'm specifically speaking with regard to Section 3 that Chairman Williamson just referenced. You know, historically, the arts account for over 200,000 jobs in our state. Nothing is occurring in regard to the arts at present in our state. There is no effect to current revenues because these facilities are not open. There's zero tax dollars currently being received in our state. What happened is that they have been unable to open in a manner that provides proper revenue, unlike restaurants and many other retail establishments in our state. And we know that when these museums and theaters and other performing arts centers are available, they do help our retail sector. They do help our restaurant sector because people eat a lot of times before or after the shows. But at the moment, the only thing these arts organizations are doing is fighting for survival. They literally haven't opened in a year. Georgia is one of the few states that has ever taxed tickets in this manner. And what we're seeking in Section 3 of the bill is simply to keep these places alive. The sunset would be December 31, 2022. It is not a multi-year sunset. We hope for brighter days. We hope for better days. You know, when I was Attorney General and I went all around the state, the first place the community showed me was their museum, their performing arts center. Chairwoman Houston, I spent a lot of time in Lakeland, Lanier County, Georgia. I actually went there for several times for their annual history fundraiser. With COVID, these organizations are just barely hanging on. This is one of the few bills that has an effect in all 159 of our counties. And we're just requesting an exemption to try and help these folks get back alive, to be able to provide those assets. As many of you may know, a lot of these nonprofit organizations are currently providing virtual programming to assist students and to assist members of the community now, but they're literally not taking in any money. And we would greatly appreciate a due pass to include Section 3 of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If I could, do you want to, I'm going to yield to Representative Williams, and then we have another couple of questions.
So the former General Owens, you know, you and I've known each other a long time, and you know, I appreciate your approach to government, and you've been a wonderful leader in various areas. And my only, you know, this is my concern. It's not, there's no economic tie back into the price of the tickets. It's the fact that nobody can go. I mean, I fully support the arts. If the state of Georgia is going to wade in somehow to help, I've never heard anybody says, well, I'm not going to the Fox Theater to enjoy this show because of the 7 or 8% sales tax. It just doesn't, that discussion doesn't happen. It could be the venue in Lakeland or the Arts Museum in Monroe, and we support all these facilities, but I don't see how changing the policy in Georgia on a go-forward basis, and I understand it's got a sunset in it, but you know how these sunsets go. The community that benefits from the tax break always wants to move the sunset down the road. I would love to see the state of Georgia come up with a more meaningful way to help the arts community other than something that's based on the premise that people will buy more tickets if it's 7 or 8% less. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. I guess I editorialized, but
Isn't that true?
the concept isn't that true? It doesn't make sense to me.
I'm going to dovetail in and ask you the question. Isn't it true that if somebody, I don't want to pick on a venue, so I'll go venue X, isn't the way this is going to work is that they're charging $20 for the ticket now, and that has sales tax built in, that if they open up, they're still going to charge $20. They're just not going to we're going to waive them sending by this exemption, waive that tax coming. So we're essentially adding 6, 7, or 8% to their bottom line to help them jumpstart it. Is that not what is more than likely going to take place?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
It won't necessarily be the consumer won't be saving the money. It's like an 8% or whatever the sales tax level is, infusion into the facility for a period of time.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might add, we would not oppose a study committee to look into this area for the state's assistance with regard to the arts. But candidly, this is a bill to keep many of these organizations open. This isn't a bill that this is a bill that affects all the counties in the state, all the small folks and the big folks. In many ways, the small folks are hurting even more. Thank you, sir.
Again, my only follow-up to that is I don't see it being a ticket price sensitive measure. Frankly, most of the arts communities are supported by outside giving and donations, and raising the price of a ticket a few bucks in Monroe, Georgia for our Playhouse, everybody'd pay. That's just my personal opinion. I fully support the arts community. I just don't know this is the best advised policy for helping. But thank you.
Question. I can't tell who's where. Number 10, Doc Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess sort of to General Olin's, it kind of follows up, and you largely ask it, which is that if you take your family and it's 5 $20 tickets, or you're just your wife or spouse, 2 $50 tickets, right now you just pay $100, not $107 or $108. Now, I'm just curious, why is that something in particular about all ticket prices are required to build it in? So if you go to is that the same case with a $100 ticket to a Falcons game, that you just pay $100? They don't add tax on top of it?
That is very common in the entertainment industry. And, candidly, Section 3 of this bill is frankly trying to keep these places open when the economy gets better.
I'm gonna take that one away from here. We'll have that. We'll get Mr. Groom to give us an update on that. Doc Newton, I think we actually a few years ago allowed people to price accordingly, sort of a net price. I mean, if you look at it, I think it's 7%. If you have a $15 ticket, you're really charging $14.18, and it rounds up, and it turns out to be $15.0082, and you're able to round it down. So you just it's built into the price. Many venues do that, as opposed to if you go to a movie theater, you don't have a $15 ticket, and it's $15.90 if you're in a 6% area. So
thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, I think that is and you're what number? You don't have a number. Well, we'll do the best. We're going.
Okay. Well,
Chairman House and I would never not let you ask a question with or without a
I've got one
microphone.
right here. In response to Representative Newton's question, if I remember correctly, we excluded the sales tax on some football game in this state. So it looks like I can't remember what it was, but we excluded this sales tax.
Yes, ma'am. It was a Super Bowl. We lost that anyway.
Well,
I mean, we lost the game,
we
not
lost
the
the game, but anyway,
not the
if we can do
contest.
that, these people that go into an arts thing, if we can exclude it for a football game, it looks like we could help these people out that are trying to help the community. I know I've got an arts council in Cook County that has had plays and things even through COVID, and has worked, and it's a struggle.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
this is like giving them a 7% loan or whatever you call
Well,
it. Okay.
So Chairman Houston, just since you're a co-author of the bill, I don't see anything where it specifically says sports are excluded. I see that it defines fine arts.
Well, I know what you think. Football would be a fine arts in my category.
Well, you got, well, follow-up question. Why are you including wrestling?
Wrestling.
So because it defines this, it's easy as paradise, fine arts means this, all of us got dramatic arts in there. I know.
I think Representative
He's
Williamson
trying to
is
get it
trying to
back.
get his wrestling under fine arts, and we're going, the chair, you're not, you're, all right. I know.
I get your point.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's just Tuesday afternoon. We've got this and 3 more days left. Well, I'm going to suggest something and for the committee to consider if we move this forward. If this is, am I on? Do you need some? If this is truly a need, I'm going to suggest the committee strike in the bill, strike lines 51 through 58, which excludes local. Basically, with that language in the bill, we're only taking the sales tax, the state tax off the fine arts. If these folks are in a tight, and the general makes a, and Chairman Huston makes a point that they are, then and they're important to their local communities as they are to the state. I think like the subcommittee to consider at the time to amendment that would strike lines 51 through 58 and have all of the sales tax taken off these. That would, it's just for a short period till December 2022, but that would be the state portion and then all local portions. If this is important, and it seems to be, if it goes forward, then if the state's going to put their tax skin in the game, I think these are in the local communities. The local communities should be prepared to do that as well. So at the appropriate time, I'm going to suggest that. Are there any further questions for the author of the bill, or is there anyone else? I don't know if we had a sign-up sheet. Anyone else wishes to speak? Anyone else wish to speak on the matter? Questions? Well, I mean, if there's none of that, I'm going to say that we're in a position to take action on the bill. What's the pleasure? Mr. Chairman, you got something?
No,
You're-
he moved. I was going to second it, and then I
Okay.
was going to move the amended.
We're in a position, the chair would take a motion on the action subcommittee on this item. So we have a
Motion and a second.
motion do pass in a second that LC 1941 move forward.
And additionally move that we strike lines 51 through 58.
I have a motion and a second that the bill be amended by striking lines 51 through 58. Is there objection to that motion to amend? Is there any objection to that motion to amend? No objection, then that motion, chair deems that motion adopted. The chair will also advise legal counsel to make the change on line 59, the technical change that would make paragraph D now paragraph C, if that's without objection. If members see what I'm doing there, we've eliminated paragraph C. We'll just renumber appropriately. So we now have before us. How do we? Okay, so we're going to pass. We now have before us an amended bill. We will be voting on this as amended as a committee sub. A committee sub will be created and move on to full committee. Any further discussion? Discussion now is on the main question as amended, which will be creating a committee sub. Any discussion? Number 10.
No.
Waves. Yes, sir.
So is it not true that this will actually help by partnering with the local governments foregoing their tax? This will actually help the arts community more.
Yes, sir. It will make it go to 6, 7, and 8%. So in some cases, it would actually double the benefit that they would get. Yes, sir.
and just since we have representatives from the local governments, GMA in particular in the room, would they be supportive of this on a go-forward basis? I'd pose that question to
Well,
Mr. Gale.
we're at this stage, we're in the midst of a motion. If the gentleman
I
wants
just
to.
would like to know whether just whether in general, whether or not this would enjoy the, if the state's going to wade in, I'd love, because I'm voting for it, and we can call the question, but
Well,
I'm just curious if I can get them on record as saying he'd support it.
Well, I share your interest in that, but it's if we're working with our rules of order, we do have a motion before, and unless the chair wants me to waive that, and then I'm gonna let them weigh in at full committee on that. But what we have here is an opportunity for us to all share in helping them, and we'll move forward with that. So by committee substitute, as amended, but we're passing it out by committee substitute. No further discussion. Do we have anybody online? We did not. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Moves along to full committee by substitute. Further, all right, hang on. Let me, without objection, we're adjourned.
Chairman, yeah.